Welcome to this wonderful event. Welcome to the celebration. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about East Boston, and frankly, and of course we'll be introducing the mayor to speak. But before we do that, let me just say that as a lifelong resident who lived in East Boston, as the product of immigrant families that came to East Boston and looked for a future, I am very, very proud of this day, and I am very proud of what East Boston is. East Boston has always been a welcoming immigrant community. That's what makes East Boston great, followed by one generation and one wave of immigrants after another. This school here was built as a symbol to honor the fact that universal education for children started here. It was a fight that was started by the East Boston Jewish community, the largest Jewish community in New England at the time. And they did this for a reason. They were brought here from Russian concentration camps to work in the shipyards. When they got to America, they found and sought the American dream for themselves and for their children. And they fought for education. The first East Boston High School was a cell at Station 7. Children were told, if you want an education, come to work, pack a bag, and we'll train you for the shipyards. They fought, and they won. And East Boston is a better and greater place because of that. And they were followed by one immigration population after another. The Irish to escape the famine in Ireland. The Italians to find wealth and some security for their children. And now large Hispanic communities all over East Boston. East Boston was a proud and great immigrant welcoming community. And we have seen in the world today where there is so much discouragement and so much panic in the world that you hope that in this country, Americans will start to remember what's on the Statue of Liberty, which welcomed immigrants here. Give us your tired, give us your poor, give us those who are coming here to dream of freedom for America. That made America great, and if we want to keep America great, we will remain a welcoming immigrant community. What we are seeing today is the first step to allow affordable family housing to continue in East Boston. But remember, it's only a first step, a great step, but a first step. And there's so much more that we have to do together to make it all stay the way we want it to. With that, I know that we'll be introducing a lot of partners who have been with us through this whole process. And I will turn it over to people who will make those introductions. But right now, I want to start the program with the City of Boston. Nothing happens without the support of the City of Boston. The Mayor's Office of Housing has been a major part in this development. And I sincerely want to thank all of the personnel at that agency for all the help they've given me. Now, when I read their names, I gotta put my glasses on. Christine O'Keefe, working with us from the beginning. Jessica Fulbright. Stephen Bennett. You know, CDC over the years has done dozens and dozens of developments for affordable housing. And we're proud of it. It's well over 1,200 units that we've been responsible for. And I think back on it, and I do not know one of those developments that I didn't have to turn to Sheila Dillon and ask for her help. And every time I did it, she was there. She was one of the biggest supporters of affordable housing in East Boston and a true friend to all of us. Sheila. What was even more important is that every time I wanted to yell at her, she met me. She let me. But again, thank you, Sheila. You know, over the past couple of years, things have started to be a little bit pessimistic. There was a cloud starting to hang over us as we saw the soaring cost of housing, as we saw building after building coming up around us with no control over parking, over low-income housing, true East Boston housing. Not the $200 and $2,500 a month rents for an efficiency apartment, but true family housing. We saw that happening, and there was pessimism. But right now, there seems to be, I feel, a wave of optimism coming over this whole community. Not just because of this and what we're doing tonight, because we were fortunate to elect a mayor who has come forth and proven to us that she supports us in all of our efforts. As from the very beginning of her administration that started to push forward affordable housing, open space for our children, care for our children. And with that, it gives me a great privilege and an honor to introduce Mayor Michelle Wu.
Thank you for your leadership, and to you and your team, Tanya, everyone who has been a part of this. I shouldn't be up here. I'm just here to stand in. I'm going to force Sheila to come up and speak next and say a few words. She always refuses to, but she is the superstar that the moment that she agreed to stay on as a member of our cabinet and our new administration, a huge weight lifted off my shoulders, and we're so grateful for her continued leadership. And thank you to my colleagues in government as well. I know you'll hear shortly from Councilor Coletta and Senator Edwards, Rep. Modero, and it's just so fun doing the work alongside them, and in addition to being meaningful and fulfilling every day to work alongside just great partners. Buenas tardes. Es un honor estar aquí con todos ustedes, líderes en nuestra comunidad, y socios, colaboradores en el trabajo más importante de nuestro tiempo. Hoy me alegro estar con ustedes porque es un momento de historia nueva para nuestra comunidad. Este proyecto es un poderoso ejemplo no solo de lo que podemos hacer, sino de lo rápido que podemos hacerlo cuando colaboramos para afrontar los complicados y urgentes retos a los que se enfrentan nuestras comunidades. Nuestra oficina de vivienda hizo un trabajo increíble para conseguir los $12 millones de la ciudad. Una inversión más importante. Y gracias a los muchos donantes aquí hoy, hemos sido capaces de recaudar 8 millones de inversión privada también. Y como resultado, hemos podido dar un importante paso adelante en nuestra lucha contra el desplazamiento. La renta en East Boston ha subido más rápido que en cualquier otro barrio de Boston en los últimos 10 años. Entonces necesitamos todos los recursos de la ciudad y todos los niveles de gobierno para atacar esta cuestión. Este modelo de propiedad es una innovación no solamente en Boston, pero sino también en Massachusetts y en toda la Nueva Inglaterra. Por eso me gustaría dar las gracias al equipo de todas las organizaciones comunitarias aquí, Trust Neighborhoods, East Boston CDC, Right to the City, our partner, nuestros líderes estatal también, que están hoy aquí por su visión pionera de este modelo en todo el país. 114 unidades de vivienda para familias serán asequibles de por vida. Gracias a ustedes. Para construir una ciudad para todos, tenemos que utilizar todas las herramientas, todas las estrategias y todos los recursos para crear y proteger viviendas asequibles aquí en Boston. Este proyecto que celebramos hoy es solo un ejemplo de una de las herramientas que tenemos a nuestra disposición. En el próximo año vamos a tratar de adquirir más unidades en otros barrios también, como Austin Brighton, Chinatown, Dorchester, Mattapan y Roxbury. Y vamos a seguir luchando por la legislación también estatal. Todos queremos una ciudad más dinámica. Queremos que las pequeñas empresas puedan seguir abiertas, que nuestras familias puedan permanecer en sus hogares y que sigamos atrayendo a los mejores talentos de todo el mundo. Hemos demostrado que cuando trabajamos juntos podemos tomar medidas creativas para poner la vivienda en manos de nuestras comunidades y preservar la asequibilidad para la familia de toda nuestra ciudad. Okay, so a little bit in English now. I just want to say thank you so much to all of our partners here. This is truly a historic moment that is going to alter the course of how we think about the possibility in Boston of using every tool at our disposal with every partner available to ensure that in perpetuity we are putting our resources into the community's hands. And the model that will ensure that our neighbors, our residents, our family members can afford to stay, which is not only something we're doing for these families, but for all of us to have that strong and vibrant community, to have a thriving school system, to have small businesses that have access to a customer base and workforce, and to have that special ethos of Boston, which is truly being a city for everyone. As you heard from Al, this neighborhood really embodies and represents so much of that, what is that specialness of our city. A place where everyone can come, generation after generation, see themselves welcomed and reflected, and see a better life for their kids in the community here. And so what you all have made possible here is something that we are not only going to lift up and celebrate today, but ensure that we are taking forward to other neighborhoods across the city. We're looking under Sheila's leadership and her team to think about units in Austin Brighton and Roxbury and Dorchester and Mattapan and Chinatown and other parts of the city. We are putting state legislation on the table. We're going to partner with City Council first to ensure that we are stabilizing residents and fighting for more resources and the planning tools that will allow us to plan for our best and brightest future together. And we're going to make sure that everything possible that we can do in Boston we are doing for the health, the well-being, the future of our residents here in the city. So thank you so much, and I'm going to hand it over to Chief Sheila Dillon.
I will be brief when she does do that. I should be prepared for this, right? But I just want to say a couple of quick things. One, Al, others, I feel really hopeful right now too. I feel hopeful for the city. I am excited to work for Mayor Wu. We're starting to think about planning and what we want our communities to be, and not just accept what is coming at us, but really think about who we are and where we're going. So I am really, really excited. Just a couple of things about this program. So I think we all read the ads and they say delivered vacant or room for rental growth, and maybe developers look at that and say, great. Every time I see one of those ads, it just like it takes the wind out of my sails. I really think about who is being harmed and who has been vacated from those units so someone could buy it unoccupied. So this type of development is so important. You all took 36 buildings out of the speculative market. 36 buildings. Asked for. Okay, I admit I was. I was reminded over and over again the type of these units. These are really big family units. These are 3, 4, 5, 6 bedroom units, which you don't get. So I just want to say how happy I am to be here tonight. I am optimistic. I want to continue to work on this program. I want to take more units out of the speculative market. Let's build more affordable housing. Let's plan for our futures. And thank you all. Thank you all. I had my doubts. I had my doubts on this one. It was just the gap was growing, or the timelines were getting too tight, or some lender was dropping out, another one was coming in. But Tanya, team, community organizations, local foundations, you stuck with it. And so thank you. I am so very happy.
Next, let me introduce to you a strong advocate for affordable housing, a strong advocate for tenant rights, and someone who's fought well to make that happen. Lydia? Lydia, thank you for voting for the funding that made this project possible.
I just want to echo a lot of the words that so many people have said, and it's honestly in humility. You guys did this. Let me be very frank. And I have to say to a lot of folks who doubt these moments, these ideas, this innovative thought, it's always impossible until it's done. And so what this does is set a foundation for what can be done. And while it may have been a huge price tag at the moment, it's going to be pennies compared to the futures that we have now made sure that are stable here in this community. An investment in stable housing is an investment in education. Children learn better when they're not fearing displacement. An investment in stable housing is an investment in health care. People are able to go to local clinics. People are able to go to and around their neighborhood. They're not traveling or commuting a ridiculous distance. An investment in stable housing is an investment in mental health, preventing addiction, stress. I don't think people understand. So whatever investment we've done financially with dollars pales in comparison to the returns on that investment that we have. It is not only, and I love the name, the East Boston Neighborhood Trust. We have housing trusts everywhere. But what's different about this is it is a trust, and there are caretakers, and there are people who are guardians of the neighborhood. The neighborhood of diversity, of immigrants, of people who of different backgrounds, and of course families who make the neighborhood. This is a moment to celebrate, and we should be reminded of these moments where we're celebrating together. Because in the fight for justice, we will be on different sides and have different perspectives, but we should always remember when we come together, the amazing things that we are able to get done. Us united, we can accomplish anything, especially in housing and especially in preventing displacement. But this day and moment is yours. And I thank the advocates, I thank Tanya. I want you to know, Tanya is the most dogged aggressor. I mean, honestly, as advocates, that woman, the emails, the phone calls, the consistency, the find me at my house and in the grocery store, have her child be the bait for me to go to the kid and find out that you're there. Oh, let's talk about that right there. Tanya is an incredible resource, and I'm so grateful for the ability to be here to celebrate. We got a lot of fights ahead of us, but for right now, let's see what we've done together. Thank you.
The next speaker I'm introducing is a longtime friend. Someone who's been an ally of the CDC from the beginning. Someone who's represented East Boston in the state legislature and done well by us. And I know that every single time I've looked for his support, he's been there. Adrian Medeiros. He's going to be a wonderful father.
Thank you, Al. We are expecting our next child next month, so I am both filled with excitement and also a little terrified to be juggling 2 kids under 2, but hey, one day at a time. Folks, Adrian Medeiros, proud to be the state rep here in East Boston. I am filled with excitement and hope this afternoon. This is a historic investment in affordable housing in East Boston. Sheila hit the nail on the head. To take 36 buildings at a time when hardly anyone in this neighborhood can afford a property, and to keep them affordable in perpetuity for East Boston families, that's forever, folks, right? That is remarkable. And I think it's a testament of what we can do when we come together. And I'll get to that point in a second. But I often say that the strength of East Boston is our diversity, and that diversity is reflected in our people. I've always felt really fortunate to grow up in a community where I had friends from all corners of the globe and all walks of life. However, what we've seen the past several years is that the power of the people, that diversity, quickly eroding. So fast that we're forced to play catch-up to figure out how to retain the character and the fabric of our neighborhood and make sure that it remains a place that anyone from any part of the world can come and start their life anew. That's the story of East Boston. Today represents something that will transform our neighborhood permanently. And that, of course, wouldn't be possible without incredible partners. And we often say in government that good work is, you need good partners to do good work. And that's what we have here today, folks. You have the City of Boston stepping up to fund this. The Senator and I help secure state dollars to fund this. We have grassroots organizations like City Life Vida Urbana who are constantly fighting for our neighbors. At a time, by the way, I'm 34 years old. I have never seen a displacement crisis like we're dealing with now. Evictions daily, people who want to stay and continue to live in the place that they call home, getting forced right out. But again, to circle back to those partners, it did take a lot of money. And government stepped up. But just with government alone, this wouldn't have been possible. We had the Heinz Foundation. Lisa, thank you. We have the Boston Foundation. Folks, this is what's possible when we roll up our sleeves have a shared goal and vision for what we know a neighborhood needs, and we work together to get it done. And of course, to Al and the CDC. The work of our CDCs in East Boston, both East Boston CDC and NOAA, have never been more important than they are today, for the reasons I mentioned. Al, to you and your team, thank you. Thank you for having the vision to help us execute this. Thank you for staying on top of us to make sure that we got this done in partnership with you. And thank you for having always been a voice for affordable housing, especially years ago when it was not popular in this community to talk about. Al was there fighting the good fight. Here we are today, folks, a historic day. Thank you and congratulations to all our involved.
The next person that I'm introducing got tons of training to understand and know affordable housing. As a longtime member of the CDC Board of Directors, but in all seriousness, we have in the City Council a person who knows East Boston, who understands East Boston, who, even when she was on our Board of Directors, taught me a lot about what's best for East Boston and where we have to go. And I don't know how I could give any more thanks for what she did with this development and how she helped us here. Let me introduce to you Gabriella. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everybody. I would be remiss in this moment, Adrian reminded me of something. I would be remiss in this moment if I didn't bring up the fact that I am a proud daughter of an affordable housing advocate who was one when it wasn't popular. I remember things were thrown at our house because she fought to get affordable housing in this community. And so the fact that we're here right now and we're celebrating is incredible. And I just wanted to call that out and give credit to Nina Coletta, my mother. I am just so excited to be here. Mayor Wu, my colleagues in state and local government, City like Viva Urbana, incredible advocates, the East Boston CDC, and so many others who helped make this a reality. The Blue Line portfolio took many hands, it took many months, and millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, we understood that we needed to make something happen. The alternative was not an option. The risk of losing 114 units to the speculative market, displacing hundreds of families in East Boston, was not a reality that any of us entertained at all. So we got to work at an unprecedented level of collaboration. This neighborhood trust model, and it hasn't been mentioned yet, but I think we need to touch upon it. It has the public sector, it has the private sector, it has nonprofits, it has philanthropic groups, coming together for a common purpose, anti-displacement in a rapidly gentrifying community. East Boston has seen exponential growth in the last 10 years with hundreds of development projects either built, permitted, or in the pipeline. My neighbors, who I love deeply, have struggled to cover basic costs of living and afford skyrocketing rental prices as a result of Eastie's newfound desirability. We know that gentrification disproportionately affects our immigrant neighbors, low-wage workers, and lifelong residents who just want to stay here. As a lifelong resident, I have witnessed my own relatives, childhood friends, and their families resort to moving outside of East Boston where just maybe their rent will be lower and they'll have the ability to make ends meet. So today gives me hope, as many people have mentioned. Moving forward, this first of its kind model should be used and can be just one tool out of many to mitigate some of this pain that we are experiencing and stabilize our beloved East Boston. I was proud during my first couple months as city councilor to allocate $1 million during the city council's ARPA oversight process. And I want to thank Councilor Kendra Lara, who is not here, but she was integral in ensuring that that money got into the hands of the city, so I want to shout her out. I want to be sure to shout out Chief of Housing, Sheila Dillon, and your entire team. Thank you so much for filling the funding gaps. There was many crazy phone calls at the end there. And I want to also be sure to call out, by and large, the driving force behind all of this, the individual who was working with the spreadsheets, making the calls, closing the deals, and bringing all of us together, Tanya Hanal. From East Boston CDC. Your efforts and your push got us here, and you deserve all the recognition in the world. Another reason to be hopeful, and this again is something that hasn't been brought up, but it is an incredible aspect of this deal. EC residents will now have ownership of their homes and have ability to control the fate of their local real estate. The trust will be staffed by renters and grassroots organizations, to ensure they are providing stable rental opportunities to low and middle income families. So just to close, I look forward to continuing supporting this model across the city. I'm so happy to hear that from the Office of Housing, supporting the residents and organizations who will be steering the ship, and working with all of you to ensure that future generations of East Bostonians have access to stable, family-sized, affordable units. Thanks, everybody. Congratulations.
As we repeated over and over again, none of this would be possible without the partnership of so many groups, individuals, agencies. And just want to make sure we don't miss anybody. So what I'm going to do is ask Tanya to come up. And let me say, my own staff, Sal Colombo, Tanya, I also give them a round of applause. You know what's amazing about Tanya? She did all of this. Well, giving birth to another child, raising 2 children.
All right, welcome everybody. I think the most exciting thing about tonight for me is that I get to meet so many of the people who worked so hard to make this happen in person. And so I'm going to do my best to run through quickly, but there's going to be a lot of shout-outs, so bear with me. We are going to start with Trust Neighborhoods. Trust Neighborhoods team, hold up your hands. They are the team of young people behind the community governance model that we're using for this project. The East Boston CDC did not make it up. We got connected to some very smart people, and we globbed onto that model, and it is working. So David, John, Jason, Ben, Kavya, it was not so long ago that we were all introduced on a Zoom call, and it felt like really weird speed dating. But we all decided that we were going to work on this long shot, right? And we were just going to try it. And your team believed in this from the minute you heard about it, and you turned out to be exactly the partner we needed. You never gave up on us or the project because you are as crazy as we are. They are doing this all over the country, and that is amazing work, so thank you. And I have the privilege and honor of thanking our amazing lending team. So one thing that that I have to sort of constantly remind people about, not my finance team, but because they always remind me, we have a first mortgage on these properties. And that is from Eastern Bank, PCI, the Property and Casualty Initiative, and Everett Cooperative Bank. So Young May Chen, John Migliozzi, and Michelle Volpe and Sarah Kitterman. When we pick up the phone and we call you and we say we're going to do something crazy, like buy 36 properties and spend $53 million and oh, can you help? They answer the phone. And I want to say, I think that Eastern Bank saved this deal 5 different times. So thank you. Thank you. talk a little bit about the investors, because we have never had investors like these. We are working with some really, really impressive funding partners, groups that are incredibly sophisticated, right? The Boston Foundation, the Himes Foundations, all of these people. But they have not necessarily made direct investments in housing as equity partners or as sub-debt. And it is an honor to be the first project of this type for you. And I just want to say, don't let it be your last, please. We have so much more work to do, and you guys are such a big part of what is going to make Boston a success. So thank you. And then I want to talk about the Boston Impact Initiative first and foremost, because Deborah Fries and her team, you know, Betty Francisco, Henry Noel, Eliana Pinheiro, who can't be here tonight, you pushed us to think more deeply about who we're serving. So we came to the door, we knocked, and you cracked the door, right? But you said, who are you partnering with? How can your housing be more equitable and more inclusive? So thank you to the Boston Impact Initiative, because then you went to work helping us to raise the money we needed with everybody else. So thank you for being first in. The Himes Foundation, Lisa Owens, raise your hand. This woman, she doesn't need an introduction in East Boston. She's one of ours forever. And she didn't have to be pitched on this project. Lisa, having someone like Lisa who is serious and who knows community governance the way that Lisa does, is the reason why this was successful. And the reason why we're going to be successful for the next 50 years is because Lisa is setting us up for success on community governance. And she took it to the Himes Foundation and she made it happen. So thank you. To the Boston Foundation, to Sony Gupta, and to Orlando Watkins, thank you for believing in this model. Thank you for taking a chance on something new. To the Barr Foundation, you came along at the perfect time. You are an angel investor if we ever had one. You are a joy to work with. Thank you. The Eastern Bank Foundation, like I said, they saved this project 5 different times. They came in as the foundation, first ever investment in housing. Thank you. And then there's individuals who stepped up to the plate. And I just want to say, because it is really humbling to look at the list of investors, individuals. I've been doing this work for over 15 years. Al has been doing this for over 40 years.
50.
Over 50 years. And to find out that there are people right now who are putting their personal money to work to help neighborhoods like ours that are struggling with gentrification. Gentrification isn't new, but having individuals like you who are with us tonight, who are committed to fighting it hand in hand with the community that it is impacting, that is new. And I think that is what gives me hope, and that is what gives a lot of us hope. So thank you to Jeremy Kramer and the Levine family. Thank you to Fresh Pond Capital and to Julie McVeigh, who is here tonight. Thank you to Pam Kohlberg, Amanda Hall, Amy Brakeman, Naomi Sobel, Becky Silverstein. Thank you to the Saltbach investors. There are people who didn't want to be named, who put their personal money into this. Thank you to the Grossman family, because obviously we wouldn't have been able to do this without you. They were a big part of this deal as the sellers. They stuck with us. And in the end, they decided to continue their involvement with these properties in East Boston in a new way. We are excited to have you participating in the reclamation of these properties as affordable housing under community ownership. Pretty big for a seller. City Life, Vida Urbana. Mike Levia and his team at City Life are truly a force to be reckoned with. If you don't know what they're up to, they're changing the way that real estate works, and they're making it work better for us, for real people. And to do this, they had to join the dark side. They had to become landlords. So welcome. And let's try to make it a little bit less of a dark side together. That's right. Because in all seriousness, to Mike, to all of you at City Life, we couldn't ask for a better partner because you will make us better owners. So now that these properties are proudly owned as part of a MINT, Mixed Income Neighborhood Trust, learn that word. I just want to say thank you to the Trust Stewardship Committee. Thank you to our operating board. I'm not going to name everybody's names because there's a lot of people. And thank you to the East Boston CDC team. A lot of people have said really nice things about me tonight, which was very unexpected and very kind. But 2 weeks after this closed, I left and I had a baby. And I have not been back since. And I just want to say that this project has not missed a beat. So Sal Colombo, our deputy director, has carried this. The rest of the EBCDC staff, Jeff and Aaron and Elsa and everybody, thank you so much to all of our partners. Introduce each other to each other. Thank you.
As we reach towards the end of the program, we have one more speaker. Before I introduce him, let me just say that as we look at everything that goes on in East Boston, as we have East Boston, I know myself, over 50 years, I myself have gotten a great deal from East Boston. And one of the most important things I got from East Boston is my wife, Lois. My wife, Bob, almost 60 years, 59 years. And I have some sound advice for any young men out here tonight. Go find a nice East Boston girl and marry her. That works for us. I'm going to introduce the next gentleman who's done so much for East Boston. But before I do that, I do want to let you know that we're going to cap off the program with some music from ZoomX. Now, the CDC, over the years, has invested in a lot of companies. It's invested in a lot of real estate and development and everything else. But I don't think there's anything closer to my heart than ZoomX, because ZoomX has instilled our children with joy, with spirit, and with the knowledge to know how to do well in this world. Madeline, thank you. And finally, let me introduce to you an organizer for all of the activities that have been so important to East Boston over the past couple of years. Tenant organization, protection from evictions, and the like. I want to introduce Andres Del Castillo.
For the folks that know me here, they know, like, this is not me. I don't prepare remarks. I just, like, it's from my heart. But I found myself incredibly nervous today. And I'm sitting here listening to everything, and I'm asking myself, why are you so nervous? And it's what this moment is for our neighborhood. And it's hitting me, and it's hit me so many times throughout this thing, and I told Tanya I was gonna cry today. I said it, and I know, because I know how I feel. But I think a lot of you know I love Eastie. Eastie is our home. It's our neighborhood. It's where we've watched loved ones pass and mourned. It's where we've held each other through those really hard times. It's where we've gone through one too many quinceañeras. It's where we've celebrated our birthdays. These streets, these buildings are filled with our memories, with our history. And it has been my greatest privilege to fight for that to continue to be true. I remember, a lot of you I've met so far before this project. I remember Sheila, when the Maverick Street building collapsed, I was essentially living in a church basement with 30 other people, and Sheila was like, we've got to do something about this. And swiftly helped us figure out where we were going to put those folks. As we started to wrestle with the fact that our city, and this neighborhood in particular, was the epicenter of a housing crisis that's now a statewide and even national crisis. Now the entire country is talking about the housing crisis. And not just because of price, but rent everywhere. And we started that conversation a long time ago. The unsung heroes of tonight are the families that lived in those buildings. Do you want to talk about tireless work, receiving a notice to quit, and then canvassing building after building, many of which were already empty, and keeping your morale high, keeping yourself strong in the face of your children, in the face of your community, to continue to knock on more doors and not get tired until you keep finding more people to build a tenant association with. That, to conquer that level of fear and angst is enormous. Those, for me, are the enormous heroes of tonight. Because they were the ones that raised their voice to say, whoa, 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 what is happening to East Boston? This cannot be right. A different world has to be possible. And it is their vulnerability, their courage to tell their stories, to be at rallies and protests and marches that changed our collective consciousness around this problem. Because in 2009, we were cheering the recovery. But tenants were already saying, no, 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 no. We are still in a crisis. The crisis has just morphed. We in Eastie were suffering the trauma of a Great Depression, the trauma of a neighborhood that had long been disinvested in, severely disinvested in. That made us incredibly vulnerable to the depreciation of the housing crisis. And so what we wanted and needed more than ever was investment in our community. And so came the renovation of the Blue Line. I mean, we all remember Maverick before the renovation. And for those that don't, you're lucky. It was a lot. And what we have come to know, what the city has come to know, is that we cannot develop without first having an assessment and understanding and a practice in place, policies in place to avoid displacement. Because this portfolio is not called the Blue Line portfolio for no reason. It is not a coincidence. It was a very strategic investment of where our efforts to get investment in our neighborhood were then seen as an opportunity for other folks to invest. And so we've now learned we need those things. We want our parks. We want well-lit streets. We want better access to the T, and we want to live here too. And we deserve to live here too. And it's those residents, it's those leaders that are the people that brought us this moment. I mean, fathom for yourself for a moment, not knowing the language, being a single mother, and having to face enormous amounts of money on the other side, and fearing enormous fear of the court system in this country as an immigrant in the political reality we live. And to then say, no, I will not be moved. To this day, of those 114 units, 1 unit remains, and it is a single mom of 2. who has long been a fighter at City Life, and she is still there to this day. And I cannot wait till we all celebrate her signing her first lease in 8 years. 8 years, y'all. 8 years. This family has waited for the certainty of not having to pack boxes, for the certainty of knowing that they will keep going to the same school, that their friends aren't just momentary, for the well-being of these children that for the last 8 years have been at the front of City Life rallies and marches. We have the pictures, fighting to stay in their neighborhood. And we now get to say they get to sign a lease. This is what you helped us do. This is what all of you helped us do. This is why this moment is so important. Because we've always had affordable housing in East Boston. It was just naturally occurring. It was working class homeowners that lived in their buildings wanting to rent to families at an affordable rate because they wanted to keep the neighborhood a neighborhood. Madeline, I know you know what I'm talking about. How many calls have we been on where these homeowners testify? Why am I holding the burden of keeping our neighborhood affordable? Why aren't there programs that can do that? And through the years, with Sheila's support, we were able to start the AOP program, which was critical in getting this. And it was a pilot program to begin with, right? And now we have the privilege of having a mayor that is robustly behind it and supporting it. That is what community organizing gets you. The solutions that are driven from our community, from the base up. What I hope we take from tonight, as many others have said, is what is possible when we organize in our communities. What that allows us to achieve. How much transformative, deeply transformative change is possible. And we are right now at a moment where so much more is needed. And we need all of us to join in this celebration and feel the power of winning because we got a lot more winning we need to do. But for tonight, we're here to celebrate, so I'll leave the floor to our folks from Zoomix to lead us off. Thank you very much. Oh, and I've got to say, as a young person who came to love East Boston, I have not met a person who more deeply advocated for extremely affordable housing, very low income housing, than I have in this gentleman right here. I mean, always. Thank you.
So once again, we'll close out the program by saying thank you to all of you. All of you have contributed to this development happening. All of you who have supported us in this effort. And all I can say is, we did make the first step, and I hope you'll be with us when we start the next 42 steps. Thank you.